They're not giant huts for giant insects. They are, in fact, escape pods from the Decepticon starship from the original pilot episode that also crash landed on Earth. And these are actually Decepticons that escaped before the crash, which means they are actually have been on Earth a heck of a lot longer than the Autobots and Decepticons. Well, not on Earth, but active on Earth. Legends, welcome along to Here's Rodder's Reviews, the show that loves all things entertainment, shares that love with you. I'm your host, Rodney Stewart. We're into the Transformers Season 1 box set once more. This is the penultimate episode. This is A Plague of Insecticons, and it opens up in Bali, and there's locals are being attacked by giant insect robots, which of course turn out to be Decepticons. The Autobots receive the Mayday. They set off to investigate, and at the same time Laserbeak reports back to Megatron that there's giant robots attacking, and they set off as well to investigate. The Decepticons arrive first, and they start to search through the swamps, Demon Swamp as it's known locally, and they find these giant kind of huts and thundercrackers, like giant houses for giant insects. But on closer inspection, Megatron realizes that they're not giant huts for giant insects. They are, in fact, escape pods from the Decepticon starship from the original pilot episode that also crash landed on Earth. And these are actually Decepticons that escaped before the crash, which means they are actually have been on Earth a heck of a lot longer than the Autobots and Decepticons. Well, not on Earth, but active on Earth. And when they landed on Earth, their transforms circuits formatted them to transform into Insecticons. So they're actually Decepticons, and the Decepticons set out to track them down. Before that happens, Skyfire, Bumblebee, Spike, and a few other Autobots have already came across the Decepticons, or the Insecticons, I should say. A battle is already happening between them, and the Insecticons on their own don't seem to be much of a threat as far as firepower or strength happens, but the Insecticons have all these abilities where they can clone themselves into a much larger army, and the Autobots mistakenly think that they're optical illusions, and think there's going to be no problem here until the Insecticons and their army of clones start to attack, and they're actually solid, they're real. They can damage you as much as a real Insecticon could. So the Decepticons turn up, the Autobots are getting their asses handed to them, and Megatron and the Insecticons click straight away. Megatron's like, Decepticon science generated you exactly the same way it generated me. So they join forces against the small band of Autobots that are already here. But after a slight delay by a street festival, Optimus Prime and the rest of the Autobots turn up. A firefight breaks out. Megatron calls a retreat. There's an oil refinery that he wants to hit. Once they get there, recharge themselves, they're going to take out the Autobots. So the battle leads into the oil refinery, and it's a bit of a weak episode, but there's some clashes between Optimus Prime and Megatron in this episode that are absolutely fantastic. Most notably is when Optimus Prime lifts a flipping whole ship and throws it at Megatron. The tide turns close to the end whenever the Insecticons are using the power of nature against the Autobots, like, you know, lightning clouds. They're harnessing the power of the lightning, blasting the Autobots with it. But Spike comes up with the idea that if the Autobots transform, their wheels, their tires will act as insulation to protect them from the lightning. So that's when the tide starts to turn in the Autobots' favour. They fight the clones back, using force fields. They break off the connection between the three Insecticons that control the Insecticon army. When they break that connection, the clones disappear, and yes, the Insecticons realise they're beaten. Also, the hammering that the Decepticons are taking by the end of the episode, the Insecticons are like, you know, we've picked the wrong side. So the energon cubes that the Decepticons have been generating at this oil refinery, the Insecticons actually start eating them and retreat. And Megatron is like, you know, forget the Autobots, the Insecticons are a true enemy, and the Decepticons take off after the Insecticons. And the Autobots are like, for once, I wish Megatron all the best. But the fact of the matter is, the Insecticons and Decepticons generated the same science. They're not going to stay enemies long, and they will be back. And that's pretty much where this episode closes out. So it's not, out of all the episodes of season 1, this is probably one of the weaker ones, but you know, it is worth watching as well. But if there's one that you would probably skip over, this could be it. But it is the introduction of the Insecticons, so you'll need to watch it for that. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please hit that subscription button, and don't forget to press that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Please get into the description box below this video and check out my social media links down there, and check out all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.